So really happy that Michelle has joined us today, Michelle Reeves, on this little mini podcast about the Pure Coaching Academy, but also more importantly today about what happens after you graduate and what happens to the graduates. And it's always a joy to speak to Michelle, not one because she's so positive and happy and full of coaching goodness, but also because you're an inspiration. You do a lot of amazing things, Michelle. So I just want to say hello. And
hello.
And you're just, before we started recording, you were saying you've had an amazing year. Do you want to say what you've been up to in 2019?
So it has been an incredible year, actually. So yeah, quite a lot has happened for me. Aside from working with some amazing coaching clients, which I've loved, my book came out in January this year, The Happiness Habits Transformation, and that's been an amazing journey. And I also launched my podcast, the Ideal Life Club podcast, also launched this year. And we've done about 40 episodes of that now, interviewing some incredible women who have taken really ownership of their own journey and are inspiring other people to do the same. So yeah, it's been a really, really interesting year. Lots of firsts for me, which I always love. And really lovely to see some transformations for my clients as well, which is always a pleasure.
So do you work mostly with women?
I work with both women and men now. So, but I am now working mostly with business clients. So what I have sort of transformed my practice into is a holistic coaching practice where I'll work with business clients, but work with them holistically. So helping them to grow their business with my sort of 15-year plus experience in the corporate world, but also looking at really what goes on behind the issues that everybody in business has. And often, as you know, it's mindset issues, it's that imposter syndrome, it's that wondering sort of if we're good enough. It's all those kind of mindset challenges and the thoughts that we have that don't serve us, that go on in the background, that can often be a precursor to a lot of business issues. So what I'm loving doing at the moment is kind of working holistically with business owners to help them grow both themselves and their businesses.
It's brilliant, because I've always thought the holistic approach is the only way. When you work with clients, you see the surface level, what they want you to see. They might only give you a few comments here and there about what they want you to see beneath the surface too. But unless you go holistically, you'll never get to the true reason why they may be blocked or what's holding them back. And I think this is the way forward for coaches. Certainly the approach I take on the Pure Coaching Academy is never just take the first story you hear, and always as a coach try to see what might be going on beneath the surface. We have to do a holistic 360 degrees appraisal of their life, their lifestyle, their diets, their well-being, their beliefs, and who they think they are, and how life is generally for them. It isn't just about performance at work and in business. If you have no friends and you're living in chaos and you don't do anything except work at weekends, that isn't a very good life, and that actually can stop you having the success you really want if it's not all in balance. So I really love the approach you're taking there, and it's obviously something that's really paying off for you and your clients, Michelle.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right, and it's something that I've experienced myself, definitely, as I've grown my practice. It's those kind of limiting thoughts that we have, and you know, I'm very much a fan of the cognitive behavioral approach to our understanding what creates our results. So I use a model with my clients that really takes the situation that they're in and then works through what's really going on in the background. So we all kind of think that the situations that are in is what causes us to have the results at the end of the day, whether that's in our life or in our business, as you say. But all situations are completely neutral, and it's actually the thoughts we have about those situations and the story that our mind turns those thoughts into that we then react to emotionally, and that leads to our actions and ultimately our results. So I love working through that model, which is a model I also used myself when I was in therapy, when my daughter, after my daughter was born, and I personally went through postnatal depression. It's a model that I have personally experienced, so I know it works. And I still use it today whenever I have my own mindset challenges. And I very much like to share that with all my clients, really. And I've also shared it on my podcast as a way for us really to take ownership of understanding what's going on under the hood of our brains, if you like, when we find ourselves in challenging situations.
It sounds like such a great offer that has great gravitas to it, because you're actually saying, here's a model that I work through with you. There is a framework to it, a structure, and you've been through it yourself. So you know it's like a guaranteed success at the end. If you follow it through, you do the homework, you put the work in, there will be a very positive outcome at the end of it. And I think a lot of people wonder about coaching. How long will it, it's a common question, is how long will it take? You know, but you're actually saying there is a process, we can put you through this process, and there is some kind of very positive outcome at the end of it working with you, which you have personally been through.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I think there's a lot of confusion about coaching. And I know, you know, we've spoken about this before, and it's very much something that you've tried to demystify as well, is how, you know, coaching is not therapy. It's very different from therapy. And, you know, coaching is not something that you have to be in for the whole of your life. But it's something that you may come back to. I know I have returning clients who then have other challenges down the line and have appreciated how coaching has helped them to overcome those challenges and help them to kind of dive into what's going on in a structured way with an external perspective from someone who's not in any way emotionally linked to those issues. And I think it's kind of maybe separating out some of those differences between things like therapy and coaching, and helping people to understand that anybody and everybody can and should have a coach of one sort or another. And coaching takes very many forms, and at the end of the day, there is a coach out there for everyone, and it's about finding the right coach for you.
It certainly is. Who would be your ideal client? And I know people always think, who's your ideal coach, but who do you love working with most?
I love working with business owners, either already in business or interested in starting a business or at the early days of starting their business, who are absolutely passionate about what they do, but completely stuck. So I really appreciate being in that position, having been in that position myself. And often my clients come to me with a business issue. So it might be that they're wanting to grow their business, but not quite sure how, or they at a point where their business has grown beyond where they expected it to get to. And they're at kind of what I call the messy middle in between the idea of their business and the success they're trying to get to. And it does get really messy and challenging in that point. And that can be where you really need to be able to take a chance to step back and figure out what's going on and how you get through that messy middle to the other side. And with new people that are starting their businesses, I love taking them through kind of the nuts and bolts of their idea and who their ideal client is and how to move forward with that, but at the same time overcoming all those nasty mindset issues that we talked about before, that imposter syndrome, that am I good enough, that, you know, needing everything to be perfect before I get going, you know, all those things that we've all been through. I love working with those clients to get over those things. So it is mostly my business owners now, and this year particularly I started working with slightly bigger business owners, so CEOs of sort of more medium-sized businesses, and that's been really interesting because what has you might expect to be issues that small business owners might have is also the same issues that medium-sized business owners have. It's also the same issue that executives have in large businesses. You know, what's going on under the hood of our minds is the same for everybody. And it's when we come to a point of stepping outside our comfort zone, that is where these mindset issues kick in. Because we don't grow when we're inside our comfort zone. We only grow when we step out of our comfort zone. And that's where it gets difficult. And that's where our survival brain kicks in and says, oh, don't go anywhere near that. That's really scary. It's going to kill you. You know, you need to come kind of go back to where it's comfortable and safe, which is inside your comfort zone. But we all know that's not where you grow. So it's kind of helping people and holding their hand through that process and empowering them with the tools so that they can then help themselves the next time that happens. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to be coaching somebody for necessarily for, you know, a whole year or 5 years. I want to give them the tools so that they can effectively coach themselves.
Absolutely. I like the fact that you said earlier, you know, we all go through the sort of the imposter syndrome. Am I good enough to do this? Who am I to do this? And I know that this is a really big, halfway through the coaching course that I run at the Pure Coaching Academy, around about week 4 or 5, some of the trainee coaches go, I can't do this. Who am I to do, who am I to be a coach to help other people have a perfect life? I haven't got the perfect life. I haven't got all the answers. Have you ever felt that? Or did you sort of feel that's a common issue with coaches who suddenly feel it's overwhelming? How can I possibly help everyone else when I haven't got the, you know, I'm not living in a palace and I haven't got the perfect figure, and, you know, I still kind of shout and have my moments. Is that something that you went through when you were sort of training to be a coach, or in your business at all?
Absolutely. Oh my goodness, yes. You know, I think when we're first starting out, I know when I first started out, I did have that kind of feeling, well, hang on a minute, how on earth am I going to solve the problems of all my clients in all their different forms? And it wasn't until I realized it's not actually my job to solve their problems.
Absolutely.
You know, as a coach, you know, I'm not there to solve their problems. I'm there to help them to answer the questions that they need to answer in order to solve their problems.
Yeah.
Now, and I think now that I've moved more in, changed my practice slightly so that I work slightly more holistically and I work with business clients, if I am going to be stepping more into a mentorship role, which I do, and I ask my clients if that's okay, you know, I very much see myself as a coach mentor rather than a traditional coach, and that, you know, coaches need to decide the role and the route they're going to take, and every coach is different and every coach kind of practices slightly differently. I think if I'm mentoring, then I'm very much talking about my own experiences and allowing or encouraging my clients to take a lesson from that experience and see how that might apply to their situation, and we then work through what that might look like. But it doesn't mean that I have to have all the answers. At the end of the day, it's about, for me, it's about flipping the mindset that I have away from needing to be a solution provider to maybe being a guide. But at the same time, from my client's point of view, it's flipping their mindset into experimentation and exploration mode. I always like to say that we're running experiments. We're just going to see what happens, because it takes the pressure off, and we all put so much pressure on ourselves in business.
Yes, we do. But what's interesting is when you did graduate, can you tell us what the journey was? You had one idea for your business, but over the years you have transformed it. So what was your original offer when you graduated? What did you think you will be doing as a coach?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my offer that it was actually before I graduated. I remember I specifically thought I wanted to work with women that were in a similar situation that I'd been in. So working with women, mothers particularly, who were kind of stuck and wanted to move forward from where they were, maybe set up, you know, their own goals and move forward. But I realized through being coached myself by you and by the team that we were working with in the academy, which was just incidentally the best experience. Honestly, I cannot fault the coaching training that I had. It was absolutely amazing, and I coached with an incredible group of coaches. And it was through that coaching that I had myself that I realized what I was trying to do was effectively fix my own problems through coaching other people. So I was really trying to coach a younger version of myself, and that was an issue that I had to overcome. And I moved on from there initially to start working with women who were particularly interested in creating businesses or starting to make their own money, or in some cases it was women who kind of wanted to set themselves goals but didn't really know how to go about doing it and didn't know how to achieve them. So specifically going through a step-by-step goal setting process and then holding them accountable for that. And I absolutely love doing that, and I work with some amazing women and was very blessed to help them to move forward. But I think over time, and I think this is something as coaches, you know, as we grow and transform, so our business can grow and transform. And I think there's a tendency for us to think we have to kind of stay in a box. But I don't think that's true at all. I think we can constantly reinvent ourselves. I think the world of work is very different now to when I was in corporate life, 15 years ago or so. And, I think there are opportunities for us to transform all the time in our businesses and to use digital media. There's no reason why you can't have multiple income streams as a coach. You can work one-to-one with clients. I now have VIP coaching days where I work for very, very intensely with a client for over a period of hours, and we solve a whole load of problems, and they have to do lots of pre-work for us to be able to do that. You can run online programs where you're not even necessarily working one-to-one with someone, but you're creating content that allows them to move forward to a place before they want to work with you one-to-one, for example. So I think there's lots of different ways that you can apply the skills that you have as a coach, and that you don't necessarily need to kind of feel like you have to stay where you start.
I think that's a great description of how agile and flexible the coaching industry is, and what you initially start out to do, because that's been your life experiences or where you think your passion lies. 6 months, a year from there, you might think, no, actually my clients are pulling me in this direction. I much prefer to coach in this subject or with these type of people. And the great thing, as you say, it's not set in stone. You can reinvent, you can add pages to your website, you can rebrand, you can niche, you can have lots of different niches, not just the one, and you can have VIP days or something downloadable. It's as simple as a £10 download or a £1,000 day one-to-one coaching. That's the wonderful flexibility and agility of coaching, and the fact that every few months, I think all of us now in business should reinvent ourselves a little bit anyway. Apart from the Google listings, it means you go up. But also keep your offer fresh, keep the new dynamism there, keep the people wanting to come back to you to see what they can learn again and what you're learning. And I think that is one of the absolute beauties of coaching, is the ability to be as creative with your own business as you want to be. And in fact, they say the more niche, the better now. So the more peculiar the niche, like I only coach lawyers or I only coach people having weddings, that you'll really get a lot of clients from having a very extreme niche, So I think that's really great to hear your very successful journey from graduation, and the honesty you said about you thought it was going to be one thing, but now it's really morphed into something far more challenging and exciting, with lots of parts to your brand. I love the fact that you say everyone has a special brand of magic. It's on your website. It's one of your kind of catchphrases. What does that mean to you? Is that what you do with your clients? You find their special brand of magic?
Yeah, I do believe everyone has something to offer. I think everyone's got a passion that is often buried. And I think I totally believe my job as a coach is to help them to find that spark. Quite often people have been running their businesses for a while, and when you're working so hard on your business, it's very hard to then kind of step out of that and remember why you started it in the first place, what your passion is, who you were trying to help. The transformation that you were trying to make in your business that gave you that kind of initial idea, because those initial ideas, they're full of fun and excitement, and we get really passionate about them. And then, you start running your business and you get into the days and the ins and outs of it. And it does get challenging. I said that messy middle place is where, it's where self-doubt sits. It's where failure sits. It's where judgment sits. And we are so good at judging ourselves all the time. And but I do think we if we go back to that place of where we start, there was that initial piece of of excitement and that magic that kicked it all off. And I do believe everyone has got that magic inside them, but we don't necessarily allow it to come out. We don't necessarily, because we overlay it with a lot of that kind of expectation that we apply to ourselves. That a lot of people think that, you know, the worst word in the world is no, because we should never say no to anything. I completely disagree, actually. I love the word no, because I think it allows us to say no to things that don't serve us. But the word that I counsel so many of my clients not to use is should. I absolutely hate that word, because should creates all of our problems. We should be this, we should be that, we should be better, we should be more practice, we should be where we, you know, we should be here when we're actually there, we should be further along, we should be earning more money, whatever it might be. All those shoulds, all those expectations, all those judgments hold us back and stop us moving forward. So I like to kind of strip all of that back and get back down to that initial spark of magic that I believe people have, and then kind of rebirth it again in a way. Go back to understanding what all their values might be that are actually been driving them probably since they were quite young, and then go back and kind of rediscover them again and get really excited about them again.
It sounds great. I'm excited for you, and I'd like to be one of your clients. You make it sound so exciting. It must be thrilling to be one of your clients. So just going back, turning the clock back, at this time of year, I'm getting a lot of people making inquiries about becoming a coach. And if you can turn your thoughts back to how long ago was that? 3 or 4 years for you now?
Yes. Yeah.
What would you say for someone who's hovering between should I or shouldn't I go into is it a flooded market? Should I do it? They're frightened of making the big leap. Quite rightly, it's a big, exciting leap. But what advice would you give someone who's hovering on the edge? Should I or shouldn't I become a coach?
I think there's two things. The first thing I'd say is every skill you learn as you train as a coach is a transferable skill that you can use in any area of your life. So whether or not you take those skills and become a coach, they will still benefit you. So if you stay in the corporate world, those skills will absolutely benefit you. And I wish I'd been trained. I was actually had some executive coach training when I was working in corporate side, but oh my goodness, I was a terrible coach back then. And I learned so much more about how to hold space for my clients. So I think there's a lot of skills you learn as a coach that are transferable. So that's the first thing. But the second thing I'd say is, you know, the coaching environment is, particularly in the UK, is still very young. There is so much scope for growth in coaching, I honestly believe. If you look at America and where America is with coaches, you know, it's totally normal for people to have a coach. It's something that most, you know, people in business will work with a coach at some point or other. And certainly I feel like the UK, we've got so much growth to get to that point. So it's the perfect time to train as a coach, because you will be getting in at the point where there is lots of room. And I think also, you know, as we said before, being a coach, being a coach is not just one thing. You can choose the kind of coach that you want to be and the kind of clients that you want to work with. So really the world's your oyster.
I love it. Gosh, I couldn't have said it better myself. I'm saying to people now, start with the end in mind, i.e., when you graduate in a year or two, what is the life that you want? What is the business you want? What is the lifestyle you want that you hope that coaching will be the support for? So if you want to work 3 days a week or 5 days a week or just certain days, or you want to work with certain people, you design your life this way by being a coach. And I think that's down to your own choices and your own strengths and really what you want from your life. What advice would you give to people who say, well, I'm worried about what I'll do when I graduate? What if I don't get clients? What's the scary thing? You've spent all this money on this fabulous course, you're full of enthusiasm, then what? What would you say, what experiences would you share when you graduate and off you go into the world?
Well, the first thing I'd say is definitely with the Pure Coaching Academy, I learned a lot of skills from the training about what to do once I'd graduated. So you're not kind of just left to fend for yourself, which was wonderful. And I think one of the best parts of the course was having a lot of experts come in and help with that, to provide that business background. So that, you know, because I'm not going to say that it's easy. It's not. Setting up any kind of business is challenging, and you do have to work hard in the beginning. And you know, being completely honest, you know, I threw myself into it 100%. And you do have to work hard at it, and you do have to decide, you know, what's right for you, and you have to kind of set yourself, you know, quite challenging goals, and you have to be visible. You have to put yourself out there. So I would say, definitely my recommendations would be listen very carefully to all of the advice that you get when you're doing your coaching training. Make sure you pick a coaching training course that has that business element, because it is very important. And also I would say, don't be afraid to experiment and try things and fail at them, because it is through all of those failures, and oh my goodness, I've tried all sorts of things that haven't worked, but it's through all those failures that you learn what does work. And you know, not to maybe give yourself too much expectation that you're going to reach a certain point, you know, within the first 5 minutes of graduating. It does take a little bit of time, and there's no reason why you can't pivot and change as you're going along. So set yourself some exciting but challenging goals in the middle, in the beginning when you graduate, but then experiment and keep pivoting until you get to where you want to get to.
How brilliant, how brilliant. Well, I'm wishing you all the best for your new year. One thing that you'd like to share then about what is your own personal joy about being a coach? One of the things you love most about being a business, life coach, corporate coach?
I think the thing that I love the most is when I see the penny drop. So I either work over Zoom, so I can coach people anywhere in the world. I have clients in America, I've had clients in Europe, and as well as the UK, and seeing them, the look in their eye when the penny drops and they realize that it's not the situation that they're in that's causing all the problems they're in. When they realize that they can actually have a choice about the thoughts that they choose, and that those thoughts actually do end up creating their reality. It's when that penny drops that I can see that spark, and they realize that they have a choice and that they feel empowered. I think that's what I love the most, and the transformation that we go through from the beginning of coaching to the end of coaching, seeing how far people come. That's really what gives me the most joy, and that's why I'll continue doing it. I think, coaching is a vocation, really, as much as it is a career.
Definitely. Well, if you Google top 10 things that make human beings happy, in the top 5, I think it is being of service to others. So so we're in a profession that not only are we of service to others, we make other people happy, thus giving the karmic kickback that we are happy, and we get paid for it. This is the win-win, wonderful situation of being a coach. You cannot believe that you actually get paid for this joyous profession where you make other people happy, thus making yourself happy. It's just wonderful. Well, I would say that, but I've been doing it for so long. Well, thank you so much, Michelle. In my email, I will put your details. But if you just want to say how people can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me at michellereevescoaching.com. I am on social media. I love Instagram. I'm at Michelle Reeves Coaching on Instagram and Facebook. And you'll find the Ideal Life Club podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, or you could just ask Google Assistant to play the latest episode of the Ideal Life Club podcast.
Oh my goodness, you see, this woman is an inspiration. I could learn so much from you, Michelle. So it's kind of teach yourself now. I need to come and be your pupil. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful 2020. I really appreciate your time. And I think your story is going to inspire many others who are sitting on the fence thinking, shouldn't I? What is this coaching thing all about? Look at you. You're doing so well. You're an absolute superstar. So thank you so much. And looking forward to hearing about your meteoric success even more in 2020.
Oh, it's been my pleasure, Carol Ann, and thank you. Happy Christmas and Happy New Year.
And same to you. Thank you, Michelle. Bye for now.